According to data from the Johns Hopkins University and other sources, at least 161,330 people have died from the new coronavirus around the world, almost two-thirds of them in Europe. A total of 161,330 fatalities have been registered out of more than 2 million cases. These include 101,398 deaths and 1,151,820 infections in Europe, the continent hardest hit by the virus. In the United States, now the worst hit country, the death toll stood at 39,090 with 735,287 infections. At least 66,819 patients have recovered. Italy is the next most affected country with 23,227 deaths and 175,925 confirmed infections. It's followed by Spain with 20,453 fatalities and 195,944 confirmed infections. France with 19,323 deaths and 151,793 infections, and Britain with 15,464 deaths and 114,217 cases. India recorded its biggest single-day spike in coronavirus cases on Monday as the government eased one of the world's strictest lockdowns to allow some manufacturing and agricultural activity to resume. The Ministry of Health said on Monday that the death toll rose to 543, while the number of infected people soared to 17,265. The latest update from the Health Ministry showed that there were 36 fresh deaths and 1,553 people tested positive in the last 24 hours. The ministry showed that there was a slight increase in the number of deaths and infections as one-day deaths rose to 36 from the earlier 27, while the number of infections saw an increase from 1,334 one day earlier to 1,553. Meanwhile, Maharashtra remains the worst affected Indian state as the death toll climbed to 223, while there are 4,203 infections, followed by capital New Delhi with 45 deaths and 2,003 infections as the pandemic hit 33 Indian states. Officials said on Monday Bangladesh has tightened the clampdown on 7 villages after tens of thousands attended the funeral of a popular local cleric in spite of nationwide lockdown to control the spread of the coronavirus. The massive gathering in Brahmanbaria district, about 60 kilometers east of the capital Dhaka, has raised concerns about the potential for a spike in infections in a country of 160 million people with poor medical infrastructure. People had not expected such a large number of people to gather for the funeral, defying weeks-long lockdown that forbids going out except for groceries and medicine. Local media said few of the mourners wore masks. Japanese medics are warning more must be done to prevent the coronavirus from overwhelming the country's healthcare system as confirmed cases passed 10,000 despite a nationwide state of emergency. Experts have been alarmed by a recent spike in COVID-19 infections, with hundreds detected daily. Japan's outbreak remains less severe than in hard-hit European countries, but its caseload is one of Asia's highest after China and India and is roughly on par with South Korea. There have been 171 deaths recorded so far in Japan and 10,751 cases, with the country under a month-long state of emergency, initially covering 7 regions but now in place nationwide. The government said on Monday more than 13,400 people linked to a COVID-19 outbreak in a village on the outskirts of the Vietnamese capital Hanoi have tested negative for the coronavirus. Supported by the mass quarantine of tens of thousands and an aggressive contact tracing program, Vietnam has recorded just 268 cases of the novel coronavirus so far, and no deaths. the country has stayed cleared of the virus for 4 consecutive days so far. The government said in a statement, 97.7% of the total samples tested negative for the virus, adding that results of the rest will be released in coming days. Germany takes its first steps back towards normality on Monday, with smaller shops in some regions opening up for the first time in a month after politicians declared the coronavirus under control. From florists to fashion stores, the majority of shops smaller than 800 square meters will be allowed to welcome customers again in a first wave of relaxations to strict curbs on public life introduced last month. Chancellor Angela Merkel and regional state premiers announced the decision to reopen last week, though they have been careful to cast it as no more than a cautious first step. World Health Organization (WHO) Director General said on Monday that lifting lockdown restrictions for COVID-19 is not the end of the coronavirus pandemic, it's just the beginning of the next phase. Speaking at the Group of 20 G20 Health Ministers virtual meeting from Geneva, the WHO chief said it's vital in this next phase that countries educate, engage and empower their people to prevent and respond rapidly to any resurgence. He also said that health ministers that the WHO is deeply concerned that the virus now appears to be gathering pace in countries that lack the capacity of many G20 countries to respond to it. U.S. President Donald Trump said Vice President Mike Pence will discuss shortcomings in the U.S. testing for coronavirus infections with governors on Monday. His comments came after governors in the states hardest hit by the coronavirus sparred with him over his claims they have enough tests and should quickly reopen their economies amid more protests planned over the extension of stay-at-home orders. During a White House news conference on Sunday, President Trump said his administration will share information with the governors ahead of the Monday call about testing capacity in their states. A gunman disguised as a policeman killed at least 16 people in a 12-hour shooting spree that began on Saturday night across rural Nova Scotia on Canada's Atlantic coast in what has become the worst mass shooting in Canadian history. Commissioner Brenda Lucki, the head of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Canada's National Police Force, said Monday that a police officer and a suspect were among those killed. Lucki's office late on Sunday confirmed that at least 17 people died, including the suspect, in the incident, as the death toll kept on increasing throughout the evening. Police officials in Nova Scotia earlier said that their investigation was ongoing and the number of victims was likely to grow. Oil prices collapsed to more than 2-decade lows Monday as traders grow concerned that storage facilities are reaching their limits, while signs that the coronavirus may have peaked in Europe and the United States were unable to help Asian equities extend their recent advances. U.S. crude benchmark West Texas Intermediate briefly plunged almost 20% to below $14.50, its lowest since 1999, as stockpiles continue to build owing to a crash in demand caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Officials said that this month's agreement between the producers to slash output by 10 million barrels a day was having little impact on the oil crisis because of lockdowns and travel restrictions that are keeping billions of people at home.